Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. So today I want to answer the question, how long does it take to look after over, at the latest count, 200 houseplants? I call them tropical plants. So today I'm going to go through some of the things that I do on a daily basis, a weekly basis and a seasonal basis, and see if we can come up with some kind of answer to that question. So let's jump in. And we are in. So what I want to do today is try and answer this question about how long does it take to look after all these plants. I've just done the first ever count. I've never counted these yet. Some of you might know I started collecting all these tropical plants roughly about 12 months ago. Some of them were a couple of years, some were 3 years, but this actual greenhouse is just over, well, it's probably 18 months old now actually. Time passes very quickly, especially when you are YouTubing. So what I want to do is just go through some of the jobs that I do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a seasonal basis, maybe even a monthly basis. And I'm going to try and resist standing here and doing some of those jobs as I am talking, because it's very, very tempting whenever I come in here. I get very little time anyway as it is. So it's going to be a bit of a chatty one, I'm afraid. But I think you will find it quite interesting. Well, I hope you will find it interesting and useful if you are building up your own collection, because I'm going to talk about various things that everybody who is growing these kind of plants, if they're not in a suitable climate for it, like I'm not, I'm in the north of the UK, north of England, which is not a very tropical place to be. And what we'll also do is kind of pan around and look at the various things as we discuss them. So first of all, we'll start with daily jobs. Now what I've done, I've made like a few rough notes on what I do on a daily basis. Now obviously this can change, and I'm no doubt I've forgotten some of these things. And if you're wondering why the greenhouse is very wet at the bottom there, I've just had one of those comedic moments with the hose pipe where I pulled the hose pipe out from underneath that bench there at the back end of the greenhouse that you can see there. I pulled it with the gun at the end, which then decided to come off in my hand, and the hose pipe was switched on, so there's water gushing everywhere. And if you think that when you reach the age of 51, nearly 52 in a week, that you develop some kind of brain power, well, in my case that wasn't true, because I then proceeded to try and stick the gun back on the end, resulting in the water spraying all over the place, all over me, and really it wasn't one of my finest moments, but there you go. That's why everywhere is wet, and if you could see my jeans, then you would see they also are very wet. So anyway, regardless, let's get on with this. So daily jobs, well, okay, watering clearly is one of the biggest daily jobs. It's not quite as onerous a job as you might think. Where I am, certainly for most of the year anyway, I would say on an average, well, you can't really say an average day in the UK, can you? But let's take where we are now in September. At the moment, we're not getting very many sunny days, and even when we do get a sunny day, it's not that hot. So I would say, on the whole, my mounts, so we're talking about, and I don't have many mounts, there's a couple of twinkles down there. There is Vanda up there, some Phals, Bulbophyllum. There's not many. There's Neostylis over there. I tend to water those at this particular time about every 3 days. If we do get a warm day, obviously, then I'm going to do it daily. But at the moment, they're not really needing that much water. After that, I have what I call my non-orchids. So we have ferns. Ferns do tend to like a daily water, really. So I'll give them a little trickle. So we've got a few ferns over there. Obviously, we've got the what are they called? The asparagus ferns, which I know are not ferns. We've got some phlebodiums over there. They're going to need a daily water. Again, very quick job. I do tend to use the watering can for that, because I use the water from the water barrel outside, which comes from the rain. So that is that little watering can there. So that does that job. That's a pretty quick job. So that will be a daily one. The Streptocarpus and the Tradescantia, they don't need doing daily. They can go fairly dry. So I'd say probably every 2 or 3 days for all the Tradescantia and the Streptocarpus. Same with begonias. They kind of come under the same category. What have we got over here? So we've got some more of the Streptocarpus. Pelargoniums can go quite dry, so again only every few days. Caleria every few days. The bougainvillea I talked about in a video quite recently, and there's a dead leaf there which is absolutely bugging the heck out of me, and I really want to move it, but I've got my hands full at the moment. That one seems to be like really awkward with watering. It's gone from one extreme to the other really, where it just doesn't want anything and then all of a sudden it does. But I mean, I know all the plants are like that, but in this case it wilts. So it wilts if you underwater it by a day, and if you overwater it by a day it also wilts. At the moment that's wanting loads of water. I can't seem to give it enough at the moment. So those kind of plants we're talking about only every few days. Again, if you get a really hot day it might be on a daily basis. And then we come to the orchids. Now my orchids, on the whole, again, different plants have different requirements, but on the whole I would say I'm watering those probably once a week at the moment. The ones that are meant to be kept wet, even those can go longer than a week. This is just what happens in this country. They're just not drying out. And as I've seen from lots of my experiences, especially with the ones that are supposed to be wet, like the Masdevallias and the Miltoniopsis, they just don't dry out. I mean, this Miltoniopsis here that's right in the centre of your picture, this is Newton Falls, and I don't think I've watered that for at least 2 weeks, and it's still quite wet. And that's with me keeping the greenhouse, this side of the greenhouse, up to 18 degrees. Also forgot about the carnivorous plants, and they take our own water. So things like the Nepenthes, I tend to give those a little trickle every day or two. I've got to keep my eye over here on the Cephalotus and the Sundew. You can see they're dry now. I do leave the Cephalotus to stay dry for a couple of days before I give it some more water, because that is prone to rotting as well at the roots. The Cephalotus, the Sundews can stay wet all the time, so I'm going to give those a little bit when I finish with this. Pinguiculas, again, they need to stay damp at the bottom there. So that's those. So in total, on a daily basis watering, I've kind of come up with a figure. I don't know how correct it is, but I would say between 20 minutes and an hour in total on a daily basis. I mean, if I spend an hour on it, then that's a lot. It's pretty unusual for me to spend so much. I would say on average probably about 20 minutes watering a day, which isn't a lot, is it really? If I'm going about my daily business, just 20 minutes out of that day isn't a great deal. But that's only one of the jobs, because also on a daily basis are the deadheading, especially the Streptocarpus. They need a lot of deadheading at this time of year. You can see, I mean, I do it every day, and you can see this one over here. This one is Bethan. There's a few dead ones on there, and if you keep deadheading them, they do keep coming with lovely blooms for you. I really like these new ones that we've got here. I must do something on these new ones just to show everybody. I was going to do something like a versus video, like the Harlequin varieties versus the Demetris varieties, but I'm waiting for a couple of those to come back in bloom yet. And while we're on the subject of videos, if anybody's got any special requests for videos, it's always difficult to keep coming up with new angles on things. So please do stick it in the comments, and I'll have a look, see if that's something I can do a video on. That's a new one there. That one is imaginatively titled Streptocarpus DS 1126. I guess they've not really come up with a name for that yet. What do you think? Name this Streptocarpus. It's a nice one, isn't it? Really nice one. So that's the deadheading, probably about 10 minutes a day on that. Then you've got all the gadgets that need checking. So we have, what do I always check? Well, we have the temperature of this side. You can see that gadget in the middle there. I always have to check that. I always have to check that everything's working. So we've got 2 grow lights. I'll just kind of one up there, one over in the warm side. We've got the fogger. I need to make sure that's working. I need to make sure the temperature over here of this side as well. So we've got lots of temperatures and gadgets, louvre windows. They're the ones down at the bottom underneath the benches. I have got 2, 4, 5 of those. At various points in the year I will have to ventilate, so I'll have to open those up I'll need to open up the front doors there, again, various points in the year. So there's shading as well on the outside, because I have some kind of semi-permanent shading up there, and then I have like roller blinds that come down. So I have to decide whether I'm going to have those up or down for the day. So all that kind of thing sounds like a lot, but I can do it in under 5 minutes really. Very quickly do that before I go off to work and when I come home at dinner time and at night time as well. So again, all in all, on a daily basis, I would say probably about 30 minutes in total. If I'm in a rush, I can probably trim half off that. It just depends on, you know, what the situation is and whether it's called for lots of things opening and moving about, or things checking and just keeping them ticking over really. So that's my daily jobs. I would say average, we'll say about half an hour on average. Again, can vary quite a lot. Weekly jobs, so I have this fogger down here, and that runs, you can just about see a cable that goes off in that direction underneath the tray there on the truck. It goes outside underneath the greenhouse and it goes to a water barrel. That water barrel is, I think it's 56 litres off the top of my head. That does run out in varying speeds depending on the temperature. So if you've got like really hot week or a really warm sunny week, then obviously it's going to go through it pretty quickly. But I've been in here doing this video for a while, and the fogger has not come on because the humidity is still over the 70%, which I set it at because it's fairly humid at the moment. We'll get the sun out and that can change. So I could be changing that barrel or topping up the barrel twice a week. On average, again, I'd say about once a week. What else have we got for weekly jobs? I tend to water my orchids once a week, or certainly go through every single one and pick them up once a week, usually on a weekend, and just check to see whether they're ready for watering. If they're not ready for watering, then I'm likely to leave it another week. But I've found in most cases that is actually a positive rather than a negative, because orchids just do not like to be watered lots and lots, especially in this country. I will also do the occasional repot. I have just put down here like a pot next to those Tradescantia Red Jewel down there, just to remind me that they need repotting into that bigger pot. Doesn't take very long to do that really, does it? A few minutes. We have research of plants. That's something that I do want to stick in there, because I can't possibly remember every cultural requirement of every plant, and I do keep having to look these things up just to remind myself. So that's something that comes under the weekly care of looking after tropical plants. All in all, I would say probably about an hour at a weekend. So we said about 30 minutes a day during the week and about an hour at the weekend. Again, could vary, could be more, could be a little less. And then you've got the seasonal jobs. So we're just coming up to the end of summer now. Oops a daisy, nearly dropped everything. We're just coming up to the end of summer, and the weather is beginning to change for the worse. At the moment, the temperatures are still reasonable. We've still got like 16 to 20 in the daytime. Sometimes at night it's going down below 10, but mostly it's staying between about 12 and 15 degrees Celsius. I would say maybe towards the end of September I'm going to have to completely remove all my shading, like the semi-permanent one that I put up there. The roller blinds I can just put up and down depending on whatever the weather's like. But I would say the bubble wrap, now you can see I've left most of the bubble wrap on, but I'm going to need to bubble wrap up all these vents at the top of the greenhouse, and it's not an easy job, especially when you've got all these plants in the way. Any kind of bubble wrapping, and it's not easy to remove everything either. We've got plants, we've got benches, we've got equipment, we've got cables and wires and all sorts of things in the way. Of course, it would be much easier to do it with them not in the way, but I'm a little disinclined to remove everything as well. I think it would take me several days. I'm just going to make the best of it. I'll do the absolute best I can to bubble wrap everything up, and I think really the best time to do it would be certainly before mid-October. If I can make a start towards the end of September, then I think everything should be nice and insulated, ready for the rubbish weather, which I know is on its way. So there's some seasonal jobs. Obviously, you've got your repotting as well. Streptocarpus, more towards the end of the year, really, are going to all need either repotting. Certainly, they're all going to need tidying up and making the best of them, like a best kind of a clean up towards the end of the year. There's going to be repots of orchids. There's going to be all sorts of repots going on. But at that time of the year, as a gardener, I'm not going to be working as much. Certainly not going to people's gardens to do any kind of work. It does tend to trickle off towards the end of the year as gardens get wetter and wetter, and I don't really like to leave them in a worse state than when I got there. So I will have more time to do that kind of thing as time goes on, and probably more time to make videos as well. And whether you think that's a good thing or not, well, that's up to you. Other seasonal jobs, cleaning things up. Pots need cleaning. I hate cleaning plant pots, so that's something that I tend to leave as late as possible. Difficult to guess at seasonal job timings, so that's something that I can't really put a figure on. So that's about it as far as jobs that I can think of. So in conclusion, and to answer the question, how long does it take to look after all these plants? Well, it takes quite a lot of time when you add it up like that and you kind of break it down. However, it doesn't really feel like it. And this is the thing about looking after things which is part of the hobby that you love. It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like this great onerous task that I've got to get through every day. It's something that I enjoy doing, and coming in here is a release as opposed to a chore. So I'm sure people will agree with me who grow plants, and if you're a subscriber, then I guess you're in the same boat. This is why I do it. This is why we all do it, isn't it? It's for the enjoyment of it and that feeling of escape. So no, it's certainly not something that I worry about and think, gosh, I'm going to keep on top of everything. And if we're talking about things that take a lot of time, if you do find yourself on the side of creator as a YouTuber, then nothing, and I repeat, nothing will eat your time up like making videos that don't actually earn you anything in return other than the occasional pat on the back and the feeling that you are sharing your journey, which is not to be sniffed at. That's something that I really do enjoy doing. So otherwise I guess I wouldn't have made nearly 150 videos over the past, what are we, 9 months I think we are at the moment. So just before I go, I would like to point you to, if you're new to houseplants and new to tropical plants, some of the easy plants to grow for people who are new to this kind of stuff are the Tradescantia, the wandering dews. So we are just quickly going to say hairy one is a wandering dew. The pink one here is a wandering dew. The one in the corner there, which isn't looking its best at this time of year, this purple one here is also a wandering dew. Where else have we got? Probably the best ones to start with are, this one is Red Jewel over here, that's Red Jewel, and I'll just move you around here. This one is Zebrina. They look better at various times of the year. You get more silver on them at certain times. Like I say, at the moment we are coming into autumn and the and the light is getting dimmer and dimmer. This is why I've got my grow lights on all the time now. So I hope you enjoyed that quick little video, or quick for me anyway, on how I spend all my time in my greenhouse. I hope it answered a few questions. And don't forget, if you've got some ideas for videos that you would like to find out about, or something that you want me to do a video on, please let me know. Can't promise anything, but any suggestions are welcome, and I will do my best to supply a video forthwith. So that's it for now, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.